Good afternoon. Welcome to Hey, What's Going On Around Here? And Heather Spaulding will be joining us in just a minute. But we have a great guest today, Amanda Lynn. Amanda, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, yeah.
You run the San Juan Island Community Home Trust.
Yes.
I have all the 5 words right,
Yeah.
in the right order?
There's a lot in there. Hey,
Yeah.
Heather.
Hey.
Hello. And you've got your mic here. So Jeremy, can you say hi?
Hi.
Hi. Did you get that?
Yes.
All right, we're
awesome.
up and running. So the home trust. So what we hear, I think if there's a consensus, is that, well, this is lack of consensus. The number one issues here seem to be in the San Juans, the state of Washington State ferries, or depending on who you talk to, affordable housing. Do we all agree on that?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. There's
I
other
think
number
so.
ones.
I would say I would put the two fairly closely tied, and I don't know how many people really disagree that affordable housing isn't a
Yeah.
major issue, but there may be a few.
Good point. And then there's other number ones too. So
Yeah.
pick your poison. But today we're going to talk about affordable housing and the great work that you do. So thank you
Thanks.
for that.
Yeah.
That's where we want to start. Is
Yeah.
Thank you for your work. Before we get into staffing and the organization, all that, tell us about you.
Oh, well, let's see. I have been working in housing for close to 12 years now, a little over 12 years now. And I started out working in homeless shelters and in jails with folks who were experiencing street homelessness and really seeing people that are on the fringes of our communities and what they're experiencing. And I did that for a few years, constantly just kind of paddling upstream and never really getting anywhere or being able to really help anyone effectively. And I realized that the larger system was failing, and I needed to figure out how to change the larger system.
Where was this?
A couple different places across Colorado and Washington, where I lived as I was moving around with different organizations. And
Smaller communities?
Smaller communities, yeah, outside of Denver initially, and other rural resort communities. I lived pretty far up in the Rocky Mountains for a while, near Rocky Mountain National Park, and then I was down in Olympia for several years before I moved to Washington, working mostly in Mason County. And I decided to go back to school and get a degree in policy. I wanted to understand how to shift larger macro systems around housing. And while I was in college, I learned about community land trusts and fell in love with them and just felt like community land trusts are the solution to the housing and economic crisis that we are seeing in our communities today, and this unique opportunity to create permanent solutions that don't exist in any other way that I've seen as a housing advocate. So I pretty sharply deterred towards community land trust once I found out about them and said, that's what I'm gonna do. So I worked on those for a while. And as I was finishing out my degree, I was helping get a couple started in Thurston County. And I also was working in the state legislature with State Senator Hasagawa, who's very interested in public banking, which ties a lot more to these issues than a lot of people realize. So I was learning on a higher level how to intersect these varying things that I cared about in the legislature and always keeping community land trust work at the center. I got an opportunity to move to the islands after I graduated college, and I took it, obviously. And I didn't really know what I was going to do up here, but I knew Opal was here, and I knew that I wanted to work with community land trust, so I had maybe aspirations of working with Opal when I got here. And then about a month after I moved to the islands, I saw that the Home Trust was hiring for my position, and it felt very serendipitous and very wonderful, and I interviewed and quickly accepted the job, and so I've been in this role for about 3 years now, just under 3 years now, and still feel like I'm getting to know this community and still feel like I'm understanding the depths of our unique local challenges. I mean, I think those things just take time, but definitely feel like I am starting to have the pulse here. And so I feel really grateful for that. I feel really lucky to be in a community that has this much solidarity around our issues and this much unity around the solutions that we want to see. That feels like such a wonderful place to be and to get to invest my time and my brain power and my energy. So it's lucky.
Tell us about your staff.
My staff is very small. The Home Trust spent 20 years operating with just an executive director. Shout out to Nancy DeVoe, if you all know her. She's amazing, and she got us to where we are today. And she held it down for a long time with just herself and one other part-time staff member. And we got, let's see, around the first 40 houses got built that way with just 1.5 staff members, which is pretty incredible. Of course, now we are starting to grow. One of our big goals at the Home Trust is to scale. We know the problem is immense, and we want to work to meet that. So we're really working on scaling up in the last couple of years. And so that half-time staff member became a full-time. We added another full-time. We now have 3 full-time staff members, which is really wonderful. It's myself, and we have a director of housing and a director of finance. And then outside of that, we work with a couple part-time staff that we're working to hire, and we also contract. So, our construction projects, there's a multitude of different contractors that are working on those projects, and all those varying folks are sort of working under me as well, but all in partnerships.
Does this, do you feel a lot of pressure? Do you feel a lot of responsibility? It's kind of like you're the path through which we're going to solve possibly the biggest problem.
Yeah. If I'm being honest, yes. A lot of the time I feel a lot of pressure about it. And I feel like I'm the right person to be doing it. I am so passionate about this issue. I mean, deeply passionate about this issue. So yes, it's pressure. I am very grateful that I have a wonderful team of people with me. My staff is just as passionate as I am, and so we work very hard to meet needs and to meet our goals. So that helps. It helps to not feel like I'm doing it alone. The Home Trust also has a really incredible and passionate board that is very skilled and very talented. So I have a wonderful group of people that I can bounce ideas off of. And the other cool thing about being in a really small community, tight-knit community like this is our base is really strong. The founders, the people who have been with us from the beginning are still around. I'm still reaching out to them and saying, well, what were you guys doing when you set this up? Or how did this work? And that helps me feel strong in my position. Mm-hmm. It also helps me know that we are all in this together and we're moving these goals forward together. It's not just me. It's not on me. So I have to remind myself of that sometimes, but I know it.
So let's start at the wide angle view of this. This is not just a San Juan Islands problem.
No.
This is a national problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a global problem. China and Japan, I think, have more housing than they need. Mm-hmm. Too bad we can't buy some of that and bring it over. I heard somebody on Facebook was moving a house on a barge, so maybe we could barge some stuff
We
over.
have barged 12 houses over, so
Really?
far. Yeah, our entire Sunrise 2 neighborhood is made up of recycled barged homes, yeah.
Isn't that
They
something?
came over from Victoria,
From
right?
Victoria, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well,
So
so
cool.
anyway, it is a national problem.
It is.
And we have a deficit of, I don't know how many tens of millions of homes. I know the state of Washington also is in a crisis. Is that 4 million homes that they're short in the state of Washington, I
Just
think?
came out with a
I'm not 4 million,
report.
not 4 million houses, but I don't know, something with a 4 in it.
Yeah, I don't know the exact number, but it's
So it's
significant.
like a funnel. There's a national problem, there's a state problem, and then, of course, we have our problem here. How is, you mentioned before, the unique local version of this problem.
Yeah.
How are we unique, aside from the obvious that we're on islands?
Well, I think that is
That
the
is
main
the-
elephant in the room, right? Every other rural resort community that I've lived in, sprawl can happen. When I was in the Rocky Mountains, people were driving 2 hours each way up and down the mountain. The working folks were to be able to go clean houses or work in the restaurants. When you combine the affordable housing crisis with the ferry crisis, that's just not possible here. I mean, people cannot come in the morning and then leave. That's not a feasible option. You have to live here to work here. that's really unique.
Even
Most
when the ferries
communities
work,
right?
it's like
It's still not feasible, you know. So most places there can be some level of sprawl, and the more desirable areas can become more expensive, and folks who can't afford those areas tend to move further out and commute further. That's how it's worked for a long time. On the island, it doesn't work that way. We have a finite area here that makes it really a more significant issue. I also think being a rural community makes it really hard for us. It means that it's harder for us to get state resources than I think larger communities are able to, because our projects aren't as impactful and they're not as high of numbers. So I think that is a unique challenge that we experience and that our local governments experience in trying to bring in resources.
I'll propose another unique thing. We have the oldest median population in this
Is that?
county of all the counties, which means lower turnover of housing stock, right?
Yeah,
So
that's very real.
And we're thrilled that everybody's living real long. Keep it up. That's great. But that's not the point. But that is a factor,
It adds to
right?
the challenge for sure. And the larger economic structure is the elephant in the room, and that's everywhere. But locally, that's also a localized challenge. It's much harder to be an entrepreneur starting a small business on the island. It's much harder to be a young person starting out if you don't have those resources and the safety net and the community security to make those things happen. It's almost impossible to be here as a working person. It's a very difficult place to make it.
It's heartbreaking to hear a young person say, "I don't see how I'm going to have a house.
Right.
I just don't see it." You know, that's kind of a new thing, right? I mean, it's not, and again, not just here. You'll hear that all over Western Washington anyway. But it's sad.
It is sad, yeah. And again, I think it's that larger, like you said, this is a pretty new thing. We're really hitting critical mass with the wealth inequality that we're living through. And we're really seeing so much of the wealth rise to the top that it has now become truly impossible to have basic needs met for many people in our communities, whether that's food security or housing security. These things are all getting more and more difficult as our planet continues to deteriorate, as we continue to see ecocide happening and we see sort of species dying. You know, all these things relate together, and all of them, the common denominator is where the wealth is moving, and the wealth is moving up.
Yep.
So we have a need for a net increase in houses. I don't know what any of that says. Break. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Attention all Washington State veterans. You can show pride in your military service by displaying an Armed Forces license plate on your vehicle. Proceeds from the plates allow us to honor our heroes in their final resting place at the Washington State Veterans Cemetery and are tax deductible. Get your Armed Forces license plates today and help us continue serving those who served.
With every load secured, every cigarette butt that doesn't go out the window, every fast food bag that arrives at its proper destination, and every time we politely say, hey, there's a better place for that, Washington gets a little cleaner, a little safer, a little more breathtaking. Because small choices add up to a home we can all be proud of. We keep Washington litter-free.
We love to recycle. It feels good to help protect the environment. But what if we aren't actually helping? When you put your recyclables in plastic bags, your items can't be properly sorted at the recycling facility. Even worse, the plastic bags can clog up the machines, putting all your good work to waste. So don't bag your recyclables, toss them straight into the curbside bin. And your recyclables will stay recyclable.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. He sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. Basically, he had to relearn everything. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey.
Jump in when you want. We're back. I think we were always with you. I don't think we were ever gone, so sorry about that. We make boo-boos here because we're tired and we need money and we need people and we need y'all to come down and join with us. We could use some volunteers. But anyway, sorry about that, but we're just still having fun. We were talking about the unique challenges of housing and creating affordable housing in the San Juans and particularly this island. And we mentioned the three things that make it unique, just the fact that we're islands, the rural challenge and the aging population and the low turnover that comes with that. Do you have a sense of the net number of additional houses? If you could just wave a wand and say, here's 50 more houses or here's 100 more houses, do you have a sense of what our deficit is right now?
I do, and the last challenge that I would add that we have is cost of construction on the islands.
Right,
I think that's an important one
Yep.
that's unique here and a larger challenge than most areas. As far as what our need is, the town of Friday Harbor has actually spent the last year or so working on a housing needs assessment. And I don't have the exact number from them, but I know that it is give or take 400 units that we need on the San Juan Island right now. So that's a really significant amount of houses when you consider right now it costs about $500,000 to create a unit.
Now, is that
So,
400 of any kind of house or 400 of affordable housing?
of affordable housing, yeah. Yeah. So,
How far are you from being able to do that?
you know, I think that the Home Trust is really well positioned among community land trusts. When I talk to other regional community land trusts or community land trusts across the country, they're all saying, how do we get our hands on some land? That's what we need, that's what we need. And the Home Trust has quite a bit of land. We're actually pretty land rich. We have a good bit of land we could build on. We have capacity to build dozens and dozens of homes, in fact. And we have partners who own land who are willing to help us so that we could build hundreds of homes. What we don't have is the capital to build those houses. We need millions of dollars to get those houses up. So really what we need is money. That's the biggest barrier, I think.
Now, does the trust borrow the money and then
We
pays
do
it back with the, how does that work?
Yeah, we do a combination of things. So traditionally we've done a home ownership model where the goal at the end of any project is for people to buy our houses. So those houses, typically they're a mix of about a third grant funding, about a third donations from the community, and about a third where we're getting a construction loan and then selling the house, and the mortgagee is essentially, providing us those proceeds. They're paying off the construction loan. We roll to the next project. So that's how we've always done things.
So a third?
A third is grant funding
Grant.
usually. A third is donation funding.
Right.
And a third is ending up being paid off by the mortgage. And so we're typically financing that through construction financing.
Okay.
So partnerships with our local banks are really important. Partnerships with state level grantors are really important for us to maintain. And partnerships with our local base, that's really the key to helping us get these things off the ground. We are moving into building rental housing, which is going to be an entirely new model. We have to think about a much longer range mortgage. We have to think about how to maintain the building over time and all the maintenance costs that are going to come up. Heather, if you buy a house from me, you've bought that house, and now it's your house, and I don't have to fix your hot water heater, So if it's a rental, I do, and so that's a whole different sort of world that we're moving into, but we know that the community needs it, and we know that we are the best position to step up and meet that need.
Okay, so you build this new rental unit. How do we prevent it just being a vacuum and drawing more people here because, oh, look, there's a rental, I can rent it. How do we make sure that that goes to the person who is housing
Here.
challenged or housing deprived or income deprived, whatever? How do you do that?
Yeah, well, I think there's a few different things to think about with this. One, I think it's one of those sort of like boogeyman challenges that people worry about, but it isn't necessarily going to come up because there are so many existing wait lists that are so long in our community. There is ours, there's the family resource centers, there are the low income buildings around town. I mean, we've got more than enough families on our existing wait lists to fill those buildings probably 2 or 3 times over, I would imagine.
Right.
So it's going to take us a long time to get through existing folks that are established here.
So nobody's going to get a U-Haul, drive off the boat,
No.
and say, I want one
Fill
of those
out an
rentals.
application.
I mean, they might get on a wait list, you
Right,
know,
you
we're
put
not
in
going to
one, right.
prevent people from doing that. And I think that's an important thing to think about too. I'm always thinking about racial justice in my work. I think it's really important to think about who's in our communities and who's not in our communities. And when we create barriers like that where folks couldn't even get on a wait list, then who gets to be in our community? You know, it's
Good.
just something to
Right.
consider. So we're not ever going to stop people from getting on a wait list. But
Sure.
typically, to even get on a wait list, there's so much paperwork involved in that. You're coming and sitting down with case managers. So there's work to be done that typically that's not happening with people who aren't here already. So it's
So for people who don't know how kind of the affordable housing model works, let's describe that a little bit. When you get a house, is it like Habitat where when you sell it, you either have to offer it option for the trust to buy it back, or it's capped, so it's not like experiencing this runaway
Yes.
appreciation that. So in other words, if you can build the thing for $500,000, it's not going to suddenly be, you know, in 5 years be worth $1 million.
no,
Right?
yeah.
And that's, so think about that. Is that not a reason why we don't want more of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of putting the brakes on some of this runaway appreciation, right? Is that
Yeah,
right?
that's kind of why
Am
I fell
I
in love with
stupid? Is
community.
that-
No, you've got,
is
like,
that
that's the whole magic of it, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
the whole reason that we're in this housing crisis is because we've spent decades and decades using a basic need, our shelter, as a commodity. That's the primary way that a regular person builds wealth in the United States, is by buying and selling a home. That's
Yeah.
the primary way the average family gets wealth over their lifetime and creates intergenerational wealth, is buying and selling a home. So that is inherently the problem. Buying and selling a home as a means of wealth building is
Right.
inherently the problem. So when we stop that system and we say, no, that's not how we're going to build wealth. Your home is going to be something that is stable, something that you can rely on, and
Something
you are
you
going to
can
build
afford.
something you can afford, so that you have enough income to build wealth in other ways. Education, start a business, invest in the stock market, you know, whatever the case may be. There are other ways, and you're still, I think the magic of the model is you're still able to build wealth through your equity building. So we're not taking away, you know, it is still so preferential over a rental, I think, because you are, I mean, it depends on the person. Some people need a rental, some people are ready for this home ownership model, but there's the opportunity to build wealth through equity, and there's the opportunity to build diverse wealth in other ways besides commodifying your shelter and your housing.
So really, if you look at it that way, it's in the island's best interest to have more of this, because it creates this kind of slow flywheel in
Yeah.
terms of appreciation, right? We've had people at this table. I'm going to say Stephanie O'Day introduced herself in this first interview we had here, talking about the high cost of living and housing and taxes, which is largely a symptom of the appreciation, right? And so, if we want to slow down the appreciation, I don't know who benefits from skyrocketing prices. I guess when you go to sell it, you're happy that it did that, or the real estate agents get, you know, I don't know who benefits from that, but it really has created quite a problem.
Yeah, it benefits people who are using housing as an investment in some
Right.
way or another, right?
Right.
If you're the family that wants to stay here, all you're watching is your family's home that you've had on this island for 4 generations. Now your property taxes are going up so high you're getting priced out. You know,
Here's a
that's not
novel
helping
idea.
you.
Houses are for living in.
Exactly. That's really what it comes down to,
What a
right?
crazy,
And I think
stupid
on an
idea.
island like ours, the problem gets even more compounded because, again, there is a finite area of land, and it is a very desirable area of land. So our market is going to run away even faster. And that, again, is the magic of the community land trust model. I don't want to cite this stat because I'm not 100% sure of what it is, but a significant portion of school students on Orcas Island, something like 20% of Orcas school students, are living in Opal Community Land Trust homes.
Oh, wow.
That's incredible, you know? I mean, that is really saying something. That's saying that there is a solid portfolio of housing stock on that island that can never be taken away from the working community, can never be taken away from families and people who are embedded in this community. Those resources are always going to be there. They're never going to get sold out into the open market. They're never going to disappear. And so we're building that here. That's what the Home Trust is building on our island. And the more of our housing stock, of the whole pie that we can get into the Home Trust portfolio, the more reliant we will be. Because once it's in there, you can't take it back out. So that's kind of the magic.
Of the 400 houses that you believe we need, how many are in development right now?
Right now, the Home Trust is working on the 40 rental units. That's our major focus. We also would like to finish out our Sunrise 3 neighborhood, which is 10 to 15 houses that we're working on a pathway to infrastructure for those houses. And I would say those are the two projects that I would consider to be in true some level of pre-development, where we're really actively working on those. But we're also very actively thinking ahead to our next project beyond that, which is 5 vacant acres that we have, where again, we can build dozens and dozens of houses.
Where's that?
It's down on Turnpoint Road, actually, just outside of town. It's an area that the town annexed in, and that we and the adjacent property owners are all very interested in developing together for affordable housing and have been working on for a long time. So there's some big challenges. I mean, getting a significant portion of housing like that built, again, takes millions in capital. It also takes really strong partnerships between the property owners and the town, and there's a lot of considerations to be made around the larger infrastructure of our community and being able to generate.
Did you say that property is annexed in? Or
It is
going-
currently annexed in, yeah, to the town of Friday Harbor, yes.
Is that near the Sunrise?
It is, it's
Yeah,
down
okay.
below it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So when you're building, but some of your projects are in the county?
Currently,
outside-
all of our projects are in the town limit.
Okay. When's the last time you did development in the county?
We've never done development
Never?
in the county.
Okay.
Nope. We always develop in town. I don't see us developing outside of town anytime soon. I could definitely see us engaging. I see a future where the Home Trust is really becoming an expert partner for developers. Maybe it's a farmer who wants to develop a rural cluster for farm worker housing, and we're going to help match them to USDA funding, and we're going to help match them to low-income people and maybe manage and steward the properties, but they're going to put them up on their land.
Have you done any worker housing projects yet?
We have not, no.
See, that's obviously a need. Not to get too specific on a map, but I know of a parcel in the county, deep in the county, where people are living in tents. I understand that they are kayak-related employees, living in tents, using an outhouse, and bathing in, I guess, the port bathrooms. And that's kind of ridiculous. There's no dignity in that. But and a lot of people do mention worker-related housing. So
Yeah.
it's not a new idea.
No.
It sounds complicated, and it sounds like you probably need to work in great concert with the employers.
Yeah, I think that historically the Home Trust has been less focused on seasonal workers and more focused on the community that's here, the permanent residents that are here. That's who that's who we really exist to serve, quite frankly. So we haven't, with our resources, put much effort into seasonal worker housing. We're trying to house the workers who are permanent residents here, basically. So that's one piece of it. That being said, we're not opposed to that, and we brainstorm all the time. I think there's a lot of potentials and options, and I think we would always be open. Again, I think the future for the Home Trust is going to look a lot more like creating creative, innovative partnerships to get more housing up, whether that's partnering with a business owner, whether that's partnering with a farmer, or Spring Street School, or the public hospital. I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities, and what we try to do is just keep our relationships in the community strong, so that when those possibilities become an opportunity, then we can take that opportunity and be nimble to do that.
So is most of your development, or all of your development so far, been in town? Is that because just the walkability, the location of the houses is easier for people to?
Yeah.
Maybe you don't have a reliable car? Or,
Philosophically, the Home Trust is really focused on environmental sustainability. That is a big part of our mission. That's what half of our mission statement is about. It's something that we're really interested in, and I think it's something that is unique for our nonprofit among nonprofit housing developers. All of the island's housing developers are unique in this, and just having such a focus on environmental stewardship in our work. And so that's actually the primary reason. Not only is it economically more viable for low-income people to not have to have a car, to be able to walk everywhere, to be able to get around town, that's number one. And number two is it's more environmentally sustainable for us to build within the urban growth area. And it's our intention to work in tandem with our conservation agencies in order to create a healthy ecosystem for the island
And you
as a
don't
whole.
have to drill wells, and you don't have
Right.
to build septic systems and all that.
Yeah.
Keeping the density, just like our,
Yes, exactly, yeah, yep.
So with that, the crucial relationship that you have with the town, how good of a partner is the town of Friday Harbor when it comes to affordable housing?
I think that we are all learning together. I think that realistically, an affordable housing developer, a nonprofit affordable housing developer in any community is a critical partner for the municipality. They should be seen as an appendage, a body part essentially of the municipality. I mean, we really need to be working in tandem. That's critical for us to be able to address the problem. And I think both entities are dealing with significant challenges in resources, in staffing, in capacity, and in just the sort of tidal wave of problems that are coming at us that are local and that are affected by the larger system around us that is out of our control. So I think that in that landscape of many challenges, we're all still learning what are the best pathways for us to work together to meet the needs of the town and the infrastructure challenges that are being faced by the town of Friday Harbor, to meet a growing population, and how do we move more expeditiously to come to sort of innovative, problem-solving, creative solutions for affordable housing. So I think that there is work that's happening. You'll likely see the Home Trust sort of making recommendations in the next year or so around ways or policy mechanisms that we think could be helpful. And I think that the town is very open to that kind of thing. I think they're also working on finding policy mechanisms that will help address the issue. So I think that one of the ways that we're lucky in our community, a lot of communities I've worked in as a housing advocate, the municipality is just against affordable housing, period. They just don't even believe in affordable housing. And that's where we're at, you know? So we're not in that space in Friday Harbor. In Friday Harbor, we all agree that we need affordable housing. We all agree that this is a critical challenge. We don't always see eye to eye on how to meet that challenge, but at a baseline, there's a lot of unity around that, and everybody's working on a solution to the problem, which is a good place to be, I think. That being said, we're all learning together, and there's a lot of learning to do, and there's a lot of work we can all do as partners to continue to deepen and build and strengthen our partnership, because it is, I believe, it is one of the most, the Home Trust and the town of Friday Harbor is one of the most critical partnerships in our community for the challenges that our community is currently facing. So it is important to us all, and I know that the town recognizes that too, so.
with that in mind, can you give us maybe a little update about Hollywalk?
The only update I think I can give is that the process is headed to a hearing examiner, and we should have a date for that very soon. And I hope that the community will continue to follow that. I believe that the hearing examiner will be able to accept community input and would appreciate community input, so I think that is welcome, and if folks are interested in that, they can reach out to me individually. And the town is making announcements as well as that process unfolds.
Nice.
To be sympathetic to the town of Friday Harbor leadership, you take all of the challenges of San Juan Island, 55 square miles, and then you take all of the obstacles and the needs, and then think of the town of Friday Harbor and just squish it all into a ball. It's that much more intense, right? They have all the same,
Absolutely.
you know, the same or worse worries and challenges. Limited water, you know, stressed infrastructure,
Finite land,
everything.
ferries that are impacting the
Everything.
businesses and everybody else who
So
lives here.
it's got to be, as hard as I think the county has, the county's leadership has in all the islands, you've got to have some patience or sympathy with the town, because this is
Right.
harder. I think it's safe to say it is harder in policy, making the economy work, everything. It's all of these challenges squished into one little bitty town, and
Right, and
it's
so many
tough.
there's so many competing needs. You know, the town is trying to generate an ecosystem for small businesses. The town is trying to generate a walkable community. The town is trying to create tourism that is within reason and is not going to harm our community or deplete our water. So there are all these competing needs that they're dealing with. I think the other thing that people don't realize is the tax base in the town is a little skewed. You know, I don't think we don't always think about this, but the reality is that people who can typically afford to buy out in the county are often at higher AMIs on average than the people who are living in town. So just the tax base in general is more strained that the town is working from, so there are all of these layered
That's a really good point.
things that are happening that I don't think people on the outside, even me, who's somebody who works intimately, I am constantly finding out new things that I didn't know or new pieces that I didn't, consider because my lane is housing, so there's that complexity as well.
Well, this, does this not underscore the importance of the best possible relationship between the county and the town?
Yes, I
This
think
is an
that's the
example.
other critical. I mean, the county and the town working together, I
There
think
needs to be
is a
no
critical.
space between them. There needs to be no acrimony. There needs to be no lawsuits, whatever that takes. And that's easy for me to say.
Yeah, I think
I-
it's easy for us to say from
It's
the
easy for us
outside,
to
but
say. But
Exactly.
But you need to look at the, and then the colossal challenges for the county government as well. It's concerning to see any acrimony, any space between the two.
Yeah.
And it would be great as we are going to have 2/3 of the county council will be new in January. It would be great to see resolve toward getting these two organizations, these two governments closer together, right?
I agree.
Anybody
Yeah.
disagree with that?
No, I mean, I think that's
you're
I
hearing
think that's
pretty
another
much-
one of those things that there's a lot of community unity around, and it's something that everybody's feeling,
Unity.
and I think that both of those parties are interested and aware of that as well, that relationship needs to be repaired, and so I think we're all hopeful that happens. Yeah.
So what, and I'm not implying, by the way, that the turnover in the, here we go, time for disclaimers. I'm not implying that the turnover in the county is going to be the solution. I'm not saying that at all. It probably requires both sides to rethink some things and take a different approach. So please don't take it that way, that I think that this is all going to be solved with new county leadership. It's going to take both sides deciding to get together on this. It doesn't look like that decision has been made yet. So back to the 400 homes needed. I'm hearing way less than 100.
Yeah, and I think even, so that's sort of what I was getting into is timelines, even for Argyle, we're looking at people moving into those units in 2027 or 2028. That's years away, and then the next one after that's going to be another year or two, and then the next one after that's going to be maybe 5 more years because that's going to be a much bigger project, so we can't, even when we're moving fairly quickly, it
Still
takes
10
time.
years.
It takes community input to design the projects and then finance the projects and then build the projects and then lease everybody up and go through the process of qualifying everybody and making sure that they're meeting all their income limits. And these things all take time. Affordable housing is unfortunately a very slow process, and that's no matter what way you do it.
So looking at how things are happening right now, the momentum you have right now, the things that are in the pipeline, what would have to change right now? Like if the right 10 people here decided, let's accelerate toward 400.
Yeah,
I'm not even asking who those 10 people are.
I think about this all the time.
Yeah, I bet you do. What would happen? What would be the change?
Yeah.
If your phone started ringing this afternoon with from 10 people saying, let's do this, what would that look like?
I think it's about local control and it's about local investment. So I think that we are uniquely positioned in San Juan County. We are one of the wealthiest counties in the state of Washington, in the entire United States. We have an incredible amount of wealth here, and we are all together, no matter who you are in this community, we are all impacted by the housing crisis. We are all impacted by our small businesses closing down. And that is tied to the housing crisis, we know. So we are all impacted by a lack of medical care and lack of opportunity to have our basic needs met here, So it doesn't matter who you are. At this point, we're all in this together as islanders, whatever your wealth level. So I think that we have to start looking at it that way, and we have to start looking at the solution as building solidarity and relationships among our own community to solve those challenges. If I had enough money to build Argyle, if I had, a casual $20 million right now, and I could start construction, in the next year. Of course, we would have to go through processes with the town, and we would have to build development agreements. There are still these things that we have to do, but it would cut out so much of the time that gets spent not only on the front end to secure public funds, but also on the back end in stewarding those public funds and constantly renewing and constantly reporting and constantly requalifying. The other thing is, most of the public resources that affordable housing developers use is tied to people who are making less than 80% of area median income. And we know that in our community, that doesn't actually touch the real picture. So much of the housing that's missing is what gets called the missing middle housing now. This middle class, your tradespeople, your planners, all of these critical positions that we need in the community that we don't have. They don't typically qualify for low-income
That's
housing.
like post office deliverers, that's
Right.
deputies,
Yes,
that's
exactly. Teachers.
doctors, teachers, nurses.
Yes, exactly. Medical workers, especially. Yeah,
Not the
all of those
doctors.
things.
The doctors they get the water views. Don't worry about the doctors.
I mean, I don't know. I think even that's getting priced out. The
I
average
feel
starter
like
home on
it
the
might
island
be.
is at almost
Well, I'll tell you what,
700,000 now.
If we don't have enough houses for doctors here that they can't afford, you've got a
I think that
real
that
problem.
we are headed in that direction. I would
gosh.
imagine your average person who came out with medical school loans and is earlier in their career could not buy a house here.
That's what I was just going to bring up. I actually interviewed a guy. He had just gotten his doctor's license, and he was like wrapping things up and was working at Peace Health as sort of a to add some things onto his degree or whatever.
Right.
And he talked about that. Like, actually, the pay for doctors anymore is not what you would think. And with the loans.
Yeah,
right,
it's
right.
difficult.
School
And then you
loans,
add,
yes.
trying to get a basic house here takes almost $1 million. So, it's
Right.
very difficult. And so I think that if we can find ways to invest in ourselves, if we can find ways to build our own housing that we want, whether that's investing in Peace Health to build employee housing, or whether that's investing in us to build housing that's less restricted, then we get to make our own rules and we get to control that housing as a community. And we can do that at the county level, we could do that within the town. But I think that if we want to expedite it, those of us who are capable are going to have to start really investing in it. And that's
No.
what it's going
Not
to take.
just $20.
And I mean, $20 helps. It does.
But
And
if
a
you
lot,
can
and most
do
of our
more.
donations are made up of small donations. Our average donation is like $100 at the home trust. So
Nice.
that's how we're building. The houses that we have been built by our community members, by our neighbors, But I think that if we could get some people of means that really understand the nuance of this issue, and even if that was investment, even if that was, low or no interest loans over long periods of time,
That you could
community
use as
lending.
construction loans.
Exactly,
Right,
yes.
that's what I was wondering. So you got these three sources of grants, donations, and construction loans. What if you had a swelling of the donation revenue
Yeah.
or income? Is there enough grant money out there that you could keep pace with that, or do you need the donors to pay like a bigger chunk of that? And do you need the donors to help with construction lending?
Yeah, I think that is also one of those things that's in a larger landscape. When I was starting my sort of career 10 years ago, the levels of funding for building affordable housing were nowhere near what they are, for example, under the current federal administration. There are incredible investments happening right now. Historic levels of investment in the last 5+ years at the state and federal level in affordable housing, which is awesome. That can potentially change at any moment. Depending who gets elected into office at any given time, depending how our state legislatures makeup changes, funds can dry up or they can be flowing freely. So that all depends. What I will say is that having local dollars to leverage means that we can create so many more resources with grants. One of the most powerful things we have in our local economy is the Affordable Housing REIT, which is a tax that allows us to show larger funders like the state and the feds that we are investing in ourselves. We are bringing money to the table. And that has allowed us, the REIT itself, I think we've leveraged it like 3-to-1 for the most part at the county level in grant funding. So it's a huge opportunity. And yes, the more we invest in ourselves, the more attractive we are to other funders and investors because they're seeing, oh, these guys are working on this problem and taking it really seriously. And then the state's more able to come in and give us larger investments. There's more resources, and we're able to continue to compound that.
All right. Let's talk about REIT for a second. If the land bank goes away, REIT would eventually go away too. But is it your understanding that REIT would stick around for maybe a little longer, or would it immediately go away?
We, the affordable housing agencies, have confirmed fully with the county that the REIT will sunset on the same day that the conservation REIT sunsets. They are tied together. That's how the county's views it. That's how the ordinances have been written. So they are in tandem, and if one goes away, the other goes away. This is something that's important for us all to be thinking about this year for sure.
Well, I feel like we just had one of the most important conversations that's ever happened at this table.
Yeah, this was a good one.
So thank you. And there's a little troublemaker named Laurie sitting off to the side who had a lot to do with this happening. So thank you, Laurie.
Yes.
This was a great conversation, and you do great work, and you're extremely articulate.
Thank you,
Yeah, and you're a formidable. If anybody wants to oppose affordable housing, you're a formidable opponent. And I
They
guess
should
there
not
are
try.
there are
No,
some.
they should not try.
There are some, right? Are there people? Who
I'm sure
oppose?
there are still people somewhere. I haven't met them, or
Not
maybe
much
they know
here.
to stay away from me. But, but yeah, I think for the most part, communities around the country, and especially ours, we all understand that this is a problem. We may have different opinions about how to solve the problem, but we all know the problem
Well, you know,
is there.
the one really hopeful thing about all this is that this island, these islands, including this island, has a history of deciding to solve problems
Yes,
in a
we
way
do.
that kind of kicks butt
Yep.
compared to other places.
Yes, we do.
And it must be because of the island. It must be because, you know, if you're in Skagit County, it's like, let Burlington deal with it or push it down the
Yeah.
highway or something. That doesn't work here. So
It's-
between the fact that we're on islands and the fact that this is a relatively, for many people, a prosperous, successful place with a lot of resources, there is a tendency to just decide,
We're going to do
you know,
it.
at first it's
this
shocking.
way.
400 is a shocking,
Yeah.
shocking number.
But we can do it.
At a $500,000 apiece, that's an awful lot of money. And yet, if any place could do it, I think this is it.
I agree with you, and that is 100% of the reason that I choose to put my time, effort, and energy here, because I think we can actually do it. I really believe we can.
Yeah, it's why I stay here. I love that about this community is that we're independent thinkers. We are gonna figure it out. I
Yep.
think that's just the fact of living on an island. It attracts people who want to think different.
Yep, I agree.
And it means, no, we're gonna do it different.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again. Keep up the good work.
Yeah,
Come
thanks
back.
again for
This
having
is not
me.
a one-time visit,
Absolutely.
hopefully.
I will
please.
definitely come back, and I hope that people will come to the summer series that the Home Trust is kicking off this week.
When does that start?
It
This
starts
week?
on Friday, and this will be our sort of soft launch locals night. We have a bunch of local bands that are going to come and play on Friday at Brickworks, and then we'll have another on next Friday, and then July 5th, so 4th of July weekend, and July 12th. We've got some really cool acts coming, including a really great soul band on July 12th. So I hope people will come out for that.
Crazy.
Nice.
And we're going to run a beer garden there, and all of the proceeds from our beer garden support the Home Trust and permanently affordable housing. So after Fridays, come down to Brickworks, have a drink. We'll have non-alcoholic stuff too, and enjoy some music. Yeah. So
We are going to take a break for a couple minutes, and when we come back, we're going to go from talking about one of the big islands to one of the smaller islands. We have another call from Blakely. I call
nice.
it Life on Blakely. And so we'll be back in 2 minutes for that, and then finally, Pet of the Week.
awesome.
Be right
Thank
back.
you.
Attention all Washington State veterans. You can show pride in your military service by displaying an Armed Forces license plate on your vehicle. Proceeds from the plates allow us to honor our heroes in their final resting place at the Washington State Veterans Cemetery and are tax deductible. Get your Armed Forces license plates today and help us continue serving those who served.
With every load secured, every cigarette butt that doesn't go out the window, every fast food bag that arrives at its proper destination, and every time we politely say, hey, there's a better place for that, Washington gets a little cleaner, a little safer, a little more breathtaking. Because small choices add up to a home we can all be proud of. we keep Washington litter-free.
We love to recycle. It feels good to help protect the environment. But what if we aren't actually helping? When you put your recyclables in plastic bags, your items can't be properly sorted at the recycling facility. Even worse, the plastic bags can clog up the machines, putting all your good work to waste. So don't bag your recyclables, toss them straight into the curbside bin. And your recyclables will stay recyclable.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. He sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. Basically, he had to relearn everything. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey.
So welcome back. We are going to talk now with Asia Iyer. Asia, are you there? Asia is not there yet. Stand by. With our NASA technology, we will have this all set up here in just a second. Asia, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Asia.
Excellent. Hi, Asia.
So
Hi.
Heather Spaulding, the editor of the Journal of the San Juan Islands, is with us. And Asia is is a member of the family that owns the general store and marina on Blakely. Is that right?
Yes. Well, we run it and we don't own it.
You
We're
rent
just
it.
the current operators.
Current
Yeah.
operators. And I think you told me your uncle and his wife own Paraclete. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
That is-
Paraclete's a boat taxi service, and they also have a boat for hire, a ship for hire for private events.
Well, before we get into the other parts of Blakely and life in Blakely, I want to point out for people who don't know that Paraclete is a major hero lately. Paraclete provides the shuttling of Washington State Ferry captains, mates, and engineers so that they can make these crewings. Is that right? I think that's right.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And
They were contracted by Washington State Ferry, so they actually run them out to Friday Harbor quite
Right.
frequently.
And I know not only do some of the local people feel like that has been a part of the success, but even Washington State Ferries points to that solution with great pride. And it's kind of cool that it's kind of a Blakely solution to a San Juan Island problem and an Orcas problem and the big islands that depend on it, because the Washington State Ferries doesn't stop at Blakely.
No.
What
no,
would
they
you
don't.
guys do? I mean, the boat's a little bit big for your marina, so.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever a possibility
No.
to have the ferry stop here.
No. And yet,
And we're pretty.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
I mean, we're pretty well entrenched in this idea of boat taxis and using, private services to get ourselves over here. So, and we just don't have the population to warrant a ferry stop.
What is the in-season population?
In-season population balloons up to about 120, maybe 200. I haven't actually counted it. There's about 60 families that live here. So there's properties that have a couple houses on them, but it's kind of family groups. In
And-
off season, we're down to 20, and we don't balloon much over 200 in the full height of the summer when the weather's warm and everyone's coming up, and we've got everybody's grandkids here, and it just doesn't ever get very populated.
So a significant part of the population is your family, is that right?
Well, yes, we have a large family. Like my grandma is still here. My uncle has a property here. My dad lives here part-time, and then I have 5 kids of my own, and then I always have nieces and nephews here helping run the store. So just our family group is quite a lot of the number of the population, for sure.
So I'm on 3, Jeremy. I'm not on this. So let's talk about what's new on Blakely Island.
Sure.
Where all the islands are struggling and thinking about water, and Blakely is not spared. Is that right?
No, and Blakely, I think, is unique because we have ample surface water. So we have 2 large freshwater lakes. We have a number of springs. This is due in part to, the elevation that we enjoy here. But there's some fissures in the bedrock that have allowed springs to go here. So we have a lot of surface water, but we still struggle. I think everywhere in the West. I mean, this is just the story of living in the West or in the United States. It's getting water to people, it's cleaning that water. And Blakely, as a community, we pay for that water system. And so a lot of the struggles that we have is getting, clean, potable water to all of the houses. And it's gone through a lot of iterations over the year, but basically we've been dealing with just one water treatment plant that's privately funded by the community members. And right now there's a kind of a division in the community because some would like for the community to pay and put in wells, and so that we're not reliant on this antiquating water treatment system, because the wells take away a lot of the need for water treatment that we're doing with the surface water. So there's a lot of community discord over that, but we're going to see it through. I think in my, I'm just 45, but in my lifetime I've seen lots of major arguments in the community, and everyone eventually comes together and is at peace with the decision that the collective community makes, which is kind of just part of being on a smaller island and a lot of people being connected. There's been a lot of families that have married into other families here on Blakely, and so you kind of end up you're related to everybody, or you've known them for your whole life. So you can't stay mad at each other forever, I guess is what I mean to say.
Right.
So I know water is a very big issue that Heather follows very closely. And it's interesting, Heather, to see how this extends everywhere, even the smaller islands. Yeah. One of the interesting things, I'm always interested in the way life is different on the smaller islands from the larger islands here. And one of the main ways is that you don't really look to the county for a lot of solutions. You solve these problems at the island level. Is that true?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. We're in charge of, as a community, we're in charge of our road maintenance, the majority of our trash. We all have individual septic systems. We don't have a school here on the island. Apaco brings electricity in, but we have a lot of maintenance that's required to even allow trucks and contractors to get here that's community owned and funded. And so the county is not really a big player in anything that we do. Kind of thinking about how I have relationship with the county, I use the Lieber Haven dock, and I use a couple other docks on Orcas when I need to get supplies for the store. And that's about the extent of my relationship with the county. I mean, barring any sort of accident or issue like that, we just really don't have a lot of interaction. The state a little more, because we have a water system and there's state laws that we have to abide by as a community, but we just don't really. We still pay our county taxes, but don't really have anything to do with the county. As a business owner here, I think I do much more than anybody who lives here, because I rely on the health department to help keep our restaurant running and open and healthy. And if there's something that happens here, we may call the sheriff, and they may come over to our dock and assist with that. But the county just doesn't really have a lot of foothold here besides receiving our taxes. So
how often
I would love to get to know the county a little more. We do see them. We do have county people come over and pick up our dumpsters. So we fund the compactors and all of that, but they do send people over to pick up our trash.
How often do you get to San Juan Island or Orcas Island?
I go into Orcas Island. My family and I go to church on Orcas on Sundays, and then we will usually do one supply pickup a week. So about twice a week I get over to Orcas, and only on Sundays when we go to church do we leave the dock.
So you don't get to Friday Harbor very often?
Not very often. And, as a kid, we would go into Friday Harbor about I would say once a week we'd go over to church, over to Friday Harbor, or, once my friends over to watch a movie in Friday Harbor, but it just doesn't happen as frequently anymore. I think the price of fuel is a challenge for a lot of people to go all the way to Friday Harbor.
Yeah. So it's so quiet on the smaller islands, and that's a beautiful thing. I'm used to the hustle and bustle of Friday Harbor, all the noise and sirens and visitors and everything. And when we went to Shaw a couple weeks ago, it was so quiet in a good way. But it was amazingly quiet. And Blakely might even be quieter than Shaw. I don't know if that's possible. Do you ever get lonely? Do you ever crave to be around lots of people?
For part of the year, my family lives on Maui, partially because I still have kids that are in school, and it's really challenging to live here in Blakely and boat your kids over to Orcas every day. The weather gets really severe, as we all know, in the winter, and that crossing, even though it's only about 7 minutes from here to the nearest county dock on Orcas, is quite treacherous. So
Yeah.
we can't live here year round while our kids are in school. But when I'm here in the winter, I can go days without seeing people. And I think because I live somewhere that's more populated, and Maui is still a very quiet island, I'm kind of looking for a respite from that. In the height of the summer, it's bustling here at the marina, but again, I can go home and not see anybody else except, my neighbors if I choose to go see them. So you do get a lot of people that really like to be alone, especially those who stay here year round.
Yeah.
They're not outgoing extroverts, as we call them.
They're book readers.
And
read lots of books.
They're book readers, or they're more, they're those friends that you love. They're super intimate, like they're just really like the best friends you've ever had, because if they're your friend because they enjoy your company and want to spend that really nice, quiet, intimate time with you as a friend. But yeah, you do. Everybody here likes the peace and quiet. That's why they're here. And I have a brother who's really outgoing, and he's here for 4 or 5 days and just gets really antsy and wants to go somewhere else. But the majority of people are happy to be quiet. And Blakely is really unique. I think for people who haven't been here, and maybe they could look at a map and see, but almost all of the houses are on the north part of the island. So the whole rest of the island is just open, tall tree, nearly pristine forest. And then you have about 16 people that live on the south end of Blakely. And so you can really go on walks in the forest and not see a soul. I could probably hike for months and not see anyone. It's not that people aren't aware that you're there. It's just that it's just a very wide open island. And I like how it's set up this way, where we have all of the houses and properties here and then no one in the in-between. That doesn't mean we're not friendly. It just means
Oh, yeah.
like
No. All right, Asia. Well, so it's great to visit with you. The next time we're going to do Zoom, which should be fun. So we'll be able to see you or Aniston. You both do a really nice job with speaking for the beautiful little Blakely Island. And we're going to try this summer to actually come over there. Our friend Tom Bridge may motor us over to Blakely, and we can shoot some B-roll and have some of that ice cream that you sell.
Yes, we would love to have you. I think I don't want to compete too much with my other friendly restaurant and store owners, but I think Blakely Island General Store might be the most friendly place in the islands. We love having people, and we especially love other San Juan Islanders. So if any of your watchers or listeners out there come into Blakely Island General Store, let us know what island you're from. We're just so happy. We're happy to tell you what we can about the island and show you around the marina and all of that. We really feel like we want to build that family with the other islands more.
Good.
And we have great ice cream. We have great ice
I know.
cream. So come in. We've got beer on draft. We've got hot food. It's always a fun stop. For those who come, they just keep coming back because we make it really fun over here.
We will be there this summer, I promise, July or August. So we're going to take another break, and when we come back from our little break, we're going to do Pet of the Week, and then we'll be done. Thank you.
Right, thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Thanks, Asia. Bye.
Bye.
Yep. Bye. Talk to you guys next week.
Okay, bye.
Yep.
Attention all Washington State veterans. You can show pride in your military service by displaying an Armed Forces license plate on your vehicle. Proceeds from the plates allow us to honor our heroes in their final resting place at the Washington State Veterans Cemetery and are tax deductible. Get your Armed Forces license plates today and help us continue serving those who serve.
With every load secured, every cigarette butt that doesn't go out the window, every fast food bag that arrives at its proper destination, and every time we politely say, hey, there's a better place for that, Washington gets a little cleaner, a little safer, a little more breathtaking. Because small choices add up to a home we can all be proud of. We keep Washington litter-free.
We love to recycle. It feels good to help protect the environment. But what if we aren't actually helping? When you put your recyclables in plastic bags, your items can't be properly sorted at the recycling facility. Even worse, the plastic bags can clog up the machines, putting all your good work to waste. So don't bag your recyclables, toss them straight into the curbside bin. And your recyclables will stay recyclable.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. He sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. Basically, he had to relearn everything. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey.
All right, we're back and we're digging into Heather's lunch hour, so we're going to do this quickly, but we've got to do it. We've only missed one in like half a year, so we're not going to let that happen again.
No.
Head of the week.
Pet of the week is Cricket, and he is 5 years old and adorable. Look at him stretching out his little toes.
Little goatee there.
He does. He is named Cricket because he has quite the meow. He kind of croaks and sounds like a cricket. He is pretty communicative, which is not surprising, and it sounds like he's pretty friendly. So he would make a wonderful pet for someone who really loves the cat
Absolutely.
on the lap, and
Absolutely. Looks like a good friend.
really sweet.
waiting to happen.
Yeah.
All right,
What's up?
Heather. Well, thank you very much for
thank
coming in, and sorry to knock out your appetizer course for lunch.
No.
But
Hey,
really-
this was a good one.
Yeah, this was a good one. So thank you all for joining us, and we will see you soon.
Yep.
The Swan by Camille Saint-Saëns from his Carnival of the Animals.